Hello, I'm Will Yeoman, and welcome to another episode of the Pod Well Travelled. It's a very special episode today because we're going to have someone else host the show. I know, it's quite shocking, isn't it? But this time we're going to have our good friend and colleague Penny Thomas, whom you've heard on the pod in the past, actually host the show, and she will be essentially a co-host going forward, as they say, and sometimes a solo host. But I'm going to shut up now and let Penny take over. Penny, welcome to the hot seat.
Thanks, Will. I appreciate that. Welcome, everyone. I guess for today we've got quite a fun little show planned. Later on we'll be speaking with Alex Casey, who's going to take us to Moreton Island in Queensland. But first, just before that, we've got Olga De Moeller with us, and she's going to tell us all about a little place called Yackandandah.
Indeed, Yackandandah. When I mentioned to my friends that I was going to Yackandandah, nobody had heard of it. In fact, I might as well have said I'm going to Timbuktu. Yackandandah is, if you know where Albury Wodonga is, then you've got your bearings and you're on the right track. It's about 35 kilometres south of Albury in New South Wales and about 29 kilometres south of Wodonga in Victoria. Mm-hmm. So Yackandandah is actually in Victoria. It's best known for the Yackandandah Folk Festival, which takes place every March over 3 days. And this year it was held from March 24 to 26. So I was there just a few days after that on the launch of the test drive of the new Hyundai Ioniq 6 electrified streamliner, as it's called. It's their new EV sedan, which is quite an amazing drive. But why Yackandandah was chosen sort of as the central point for this launch is because it's a small town. It's a historic gold mining town that aims to be Australia's first entirely renewable town. And behind this ambitious push is the volunteer-run community group Totally Renewable Yackandandah, aptly called TRY, which was established in 2014. Now, over the past 8 years, TRY has launched 3 microgrids to trade and share locally generated renewable energy. It's installed a virtual power plant, which is a network of public buildings with solar panels and batteries linked by an energy management system. And it's also built a community-owned battery, which it's called Yackandandah, with clean energy retailer Indigo Power, which is based in neighbouring Beechworth. So today, Yak, 14 years in, now has about 60% of homes with solar panels. Not everyone can afford them, but those who can have installed them. And it's net renewable energy consumption, and while they use the term net is because they still are on the grid, and all the power lines are there, and they use all the grid infrastructure because they can't go off the grid, because at night until it's fully battery powered, they still need to rely on grid power. And apparently Yackandandah has quite a few old hot water systems that are programmed to kick in at 1 a.m. So the energy consumption is quite big in the middle of the night. But anyway, their net renewable energy output is now 60%. So that's taking into account the amount that's exported to the grid during the day when there's excess solar power, and the amount that's imported when the sun goes down. So that's pretty good for 14 years in, and the plan is to be 100% net renewable by the end of 2024, which is quite soon, really, and they're very much on the right track to get there at the rate they're going at the moment.
It sounds like an interesting town. What's the actual sort of strip like in Yackandandah? Is it big?
Yackandandah, well, yeah, look, it's just the high street. It's about, the main strip probably is about 250 metres, so you can walk up and down, so it's about 500 kilometres, go down one way then walk up the other way. Lots of lovely shops, lots of a couple of antique shops, hardware, homeware, a lovely homewares shop that smells of lemon myrtle and you can smell it wafting out into the street. There's a custom hat company. It's called Feather and Drum, and it makes handmade felt fur hats, and they take several months. So if you were to order one now, and I was very tempted to order a pink one, but I didn't, I wouldn't get it till September, October or thereabouts. So there's Feather and Drum, there's other little stores, there's a couple of bakeries. Now, there's a bit of a tussle going on here for Yackandandah's best pie and sausage roll and Yackandandah's best pink iced, and it has to be pink iced, vanilla slice, and I'm not getting into this. So you really need to get one from each and decide for yourself, I think. I didn't have an opportunity to try either. We had a rather big lunch at the Star Hotel, which is right near the park, and so I didn't go into the bakeries, but they do come with very good recommendations from the locals. So if you're in Yackandandah, by all means, drop into the bakeries and, yes, get some treats there.
It sounds to me like it's, to all intents and purposes, it's otherwise your typical country town.
It is a typical country town, doing sort of atypical things, really, with this push. And a lot of, I heard that a lot of young people are coming back into Yackandandah because of what it's doing, because of the lifestyle. Young people who grew up there might have gone to Melbourne and have now come back. In fact, the president of TRI, the current president, Claire Bishop, I believe, left Yackandandah for Melbourne and has come back now. So a lot of newcomers coming in, and I'm told you just sort of find your niche, you find your group, and the town is very welcoming.
And I guess, why were you sort of travelling through or to Yackandandah on that trip?
Because the Ioniq 6 being an electric vehicle and Yackandandah being a renewable town, it sort of was a good fit, really. Yep. So we flew into Albury out of Sydney. That's about 1 hour and 20 minutes. And you could drive, of course. It's quite a long drive from Sydney, about 6 hours. It's quicker from Melbourne, about 3 hours. But we flew into Albury. There's no airport at Wodonga, and then did the short drive to Yackandandah. We spent the night in Albury, and that was very nice. And then, did some loops around Yackandandah. It's quite sort of nice country around there, rolling hills, winding roads, which is what you want for a test run. And then had lunch there and went back to Albury and connecting flight to Sydney and then a connecting flight back to Perth.
Yeah.
Wow.
So quite a journey.
Did I just hear you... I overheard you talking with another one of our colleagues, Moens Johansson,
Yes.
who by pure coincidence also happened to have visited the same town recently.
He did, and he happened to have, he was on a motorcycle launch and he had lunch at, it turns out, the same hotel, the Star Hotel in Yackandandah. And so that's right near Memorial Park, which has a lovely memorial to the Anzacs and the locals who died during the First World War. And I'm told they have a very nice Anzac Day service with horses, and you can hear the clip-clop of horses coming up the high street at dawn, and that's quite sort of very moving because that's all you can hear before you see them.
Wow.
Yeah. No, it sounds interesting. I'm keen to check out the bakeries too, in town.
Definitely, you'll have to let me know about the sausage roll and the pink iced vanilla slice. Make no mistake
Very specific
about this. It's very, very specific. Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, that's great. All right. Thanks for that, Olga. And I guess we'll go off to Alex next.
Yeah, now I spoke to Alex myself, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, and she had just, recently returned from Moreton Island, just off the coast of southeast Queensland. I probably sound a bit ignorant because I actually hadn't heard of Moreton Island before. You guys know it at all?
No.
Or Olga? You do? Oh, there you go. You're more knowledgeable than we are. Completely new thing to me. But it sounds like it's a real sort of day trip paradise. It's very much focusing on the natural beauty and everything. But as you'll hear, I was trying to sort of relate it to Rottnest, which is where we're based at the Pod Well Travelled in Perth, Western Australia. And she, Alex came up with some interesting sort of comparisons. So shall we listen to Alex now? Okay, so as mentioned in the introduction, I'm back with Alexandra Casey for the Pod Well Travelled. Alex, welcome back to the pod.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
Now, you're going to tell us a little bit about Moreton Island, which I understand is just off the Queensland coast. It was a new one to me, but reading the feature you wrote on it a few weeks ago, it sounds absolutely incredible. Was it as good as it sounds?
Absolutely, yeah. Moreton is like a name synonymous with sandy beaches, rocky headlands, sparkling waters, and only 75 minutes from the Brisbane CBD.
That's amazing, yeah.
Yeah, they call it Lightning's Playground and Place of Sandhills because there are quite a few dunes which are central to a lot of the activities that you can do around there. So they've got desert safaris, tobogganing, quad bike tours, as well as heaps of things you can do in and around the water, like snorkeling, visiting the shipwrecks.
I was going to ask you about that. They're quite iconic, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. So there's a cluster of 15 sunken ships known as the Tangalooma wrecks, and these were actually sunk between 1963 and 1984. You can swim in and around the shipwrecks, and they're quite amazing with all of the sea life around. You can hire the snorkel equipment and jump aboard a snorkel tour. Otherwise, you can bring your own and just swim out from the beach.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah.
So it's obviously very safe and clearly designed for tourists.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Of course, you've got to be aware of currents and weather conditions.
Sure.
So, stay within what you are capable of. But if you are a little bit more cautious and I guess you feel more comfortable with a group, I'd say definitely go on one of the tours.
Okay.
Because you've got an instructor, you've got the life jackets. It's a more guided experience, so you'll learn a lot more about the destination while on one of those two. And
this was your first time to Moreton? Okay, so you must have been pretty blown away by all this stuff.
Yeah, it was absolutely beautiful. And it was great. One of the first things I got to do on the island was a scenic helicopter flight. So that was a great way to get my bearings, see everything the island had to offer. The helicopter driver was great, telling me about all the history. We actually saw hundreds of dugongs and thousands of turtles from there. And often you can see whales and dolphins as well. So it's definitely a good place to view the wildlife.
So it's very much a place for nature. I mean, obviously the shipwrecks aren't natural, but from what you're telling me, it's something where you'd go to really get immerse yourself in the natural beauty and the wildlife and so forth.
100%. Definitely a place for nature lovers.
Sure.
Anyone who enjoys being in and around the ocean, wildlife. Dolphin feeding is one of their massive offerings. So each evening when the sun goes down, there's the opportunity for island hoppers to hand feed bottlenose dolphins. And they do that from the shoreline in a program guided by eco rangers and staff.
Wow.
And then the dolphins just come in on their own accord and only fed 10 to 20% of their daily intake, which actually encourages them to maintain their natural instincts.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so... Yeah.
So what about, accommodation, what to eat and drink? How did you go with that part of the experience?
I actually didn't stay on the island.
Like it was this is like a day. Oh, hence your story. I remember
Yeah,
was about the
so
day
it was
tripper.
just a day trip.
Oh, okay.
But there are places to stay.
Right.
But in terms of eating and drinking, there's a little beach cafe, a takeaway spot serving all things pizza, burgers and salads.
Yeah.
There's a Vietnamese style restaurant that you can try as well. There's a share style menu at a Chinese restaurant. And then just a little casual bar, then rooftop cocktails.
Nice, like it's a very sort
as
of
well.
relaxed,
Very relaxed. Nothing posh, I'd say. Because I suppose the main point of interest really is the nature.
Exactly right.
Yeah. That's what you're going for.
So it's probably not for those of us who are listening from Perth, where we are broadcasting from. It's not quite like Rottnest. Would that be fair to say? It's a little bit different.
A little bit different.
Yeah.
But I suppose that could be still a point of comparison.
Yes.
I'd say maybe the big brother of Rottnest.
Sure. Okay. Nice.
I didn't really see many bike riders.
Yeah.
You possibly are able to hire bikes, but I know, Rotto, you get around on your bikes.
Absolutely.
I suppose you mainly just base yourself around the beach. And you can also take 4-wheel drives over there, which is really cool.
Yeah. But in essence, you're probably thinking this is actually the ideal day trip and it's not really somewhere you'd go to spend a long time.
Yeah.
At.
I'd say a day trip would suffice.
Kind of covers it all. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic. Okay, well, thank you for introducing me anyway to Moreton Island. I mean, sounds like a lot of people actually do know about it, but not me. So I was really grateful to read your story, which again you can read on the west.com.au/travel anytime. And only remains for me to thank you again for being on the pod and look forward to talking to you again next time.
Thank you.
Well, there you go. I don't know if either of you guys would be tempted to go there, but it sounded so close to Rottnest in many ways in terms of the natural beauty that it's probably not worth the trip to Brisbane just for that.
Oh, well, if you're ever passing by, I guess it might be.
Yeah, no, it does sound like the ideal sort of day trip, doesn't it?
Yeah, so, beautiful. Oh, thanks, Will. Thanks, Alex. And I guess that wraps us up for today. So thanks, Olga, as well. And I guess we'll see you next week, everyone.
Absolutely. Thanks for being the first time host. How did you feel? You did a great job.
Oh, just a little co-hosting gig I got into this morning. I've enjoyed it.
I think I'm going to let you do it all the time now. It seems too easy for you.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Will.